What's up, everybody? Thank you for being here. It is the post-Tinley Happy St. Patrick's Day episode of Proper Royals. This is going to be a fun night tonight. I got Jared from Gem Exotics on the show. So thank you for being here. Let's get to it. How's it going tonight? I hope you guys are doing well. I'm exhausted. Post Tinley, we got this blizzard through the Midwest. It took me 10 hours to get home yesterday when it usually takes me about 6. And man, that was like white knuckle driving. Like your Florida boy got baptized in Midwest snow and ice and car pileups and semi trailers turned over on the side of the road. All of that stuff. I made it. We're safe. Animals are good. Fine. No need to over dramatize stuff. I will tell you, I'm beat though. So, but it was a good weekend, and I'll tell you a little bit about Tinley. I'll dive in a little bit, but I'll probably like really pick it apart with Joe so that we can get to that'll be with Joe on Thursday. So we can get to tonight's guest, who is Jared from Gem Exotics. You probably know him from creative selections as well. Selective Creations, excuse me. I got to get these names right. Also, the Genetic Canvas is his podcast that he's doing a great job with. So we will dive into that stuff with Jared. Couple announcements. Next week's episode is going to be Shane from Small Town Exotics, and then the week after that, excuse me, is Inky Clouds. Some announcements from Phenome. How about that? They unveiled a couple tests at Tinley. You can now sex test your ball python with Phenome, and also your skink. I think it's a blue tongue skink. I'm not a skink guy, but I think it's the blue tongue skink. If you need to know if you're working with a male or a female, you can now test that through Phenome. Phenome will be exploring all kinds of genetic opportunities throughout reptiles in general, not just ball pythons. So go check out phenome.com. There's the link right down below, both in the description, but on the bottom of the page there on the banner. I am done vending for a few weeks, which is kind of nice. I don't tell anybody, but I got a little vacation coming up. I'm going to get out of Dodge for a little bit. So next vending show I will be at is April 12th. That's the Minneapolis show here, hometown show with the Cold Blooded Expos, which I look forward to. It's a great show. It's out at the Minneapolis Fair, or the Minnesota State Fairgrounds, excuse me. And that's not like the fairgrounds in Florida where it's like dirt floor and like horse barns. No, this is a pretty nice place. So I hope to see you there. That is April 12th that I'll be vending that. I'm skipping the Hastings show this weekend and the Sioux Falls, South Dakota show the next weekend. Like I say, you gotta have a little vacation. You gotta live a little bit. You know what I mean? Spring break is upon us. Got to go check that out. It's Patty's Day. Also, speaking of breaks, man, you might not know your boy here. That's me. That's how hip people refer to themselves. Your boy here, I played 16 years. I played in a pub rock band, and Patty's Day were always just mayhem, man. It was an absolute blast. I miss it. I woke up this morning feeling like I was supposed to jump out and go do something, and Tinley in March is always on over Patty's weekend or the closest one to it. So there's no real way for me to go do that, as I don't know if you've heard, playing music pays less than breeding ball pythons. So happy to go to Tinley, happy to hang out. It was great to see everybody there. And like I say, I'm gassed. So I'm actually staying in for Patty's night tonight. If you go out, just look, whatever you do to yourself, I don't really care as long as you can handle what you do to yourself, but don't go getting in trouble or hurting other people. That's the important part. You want to get in trouble, it's kind of on you. But yeah, take care. Have fun on Patty's Day. I'll live vicariously through you guys on that. Tinley was great. I won't dive in too much to it. Tinley was really, really solid. Anybody that says that the interest in the industry isn't there, they're nuts. That's the busiest I've seen Tinley in some time now. And I think I've been doing Tinley that was my 7th or 8th Tinley there this time. I'd have to think exactly when the first was. So, but that was as busy as I've seen it. Business was going right till the end of the day. Even yesterday, usually on Sunday by 2:00, like everything is done. I still did 2 business transactions in the last 8 or 10 minutes. Not yesterday, on Sunday, excuse me. So you get what I'm saying. So I'm actually pretty optimistic about what I see going on out there. Maybe it was the tax return bump, but like every March should be the tax return bump, and it's not. So pretty neat. I had a really solid Tinley, and that was with animals that were left over from 2025. So if this keeps up, like October Tinley should be really banging. We'll have all the new 2026 hatchlings there, the progress that everybody's made of their breeders. Great show. I really enjoyed it. Like I say, I'll dig in with Joe on Thursday on Tinley. So check that out on Proper Cup of Joe Thursday morning. Jared at Gem Exotics. I've been seeing his genetic canvas. He's dialed in on it. I gotta check. I'm certain he's in the like 40 plus episodes, but I think it's actually closer to like 60. And I like the focused approach on it. It really caught my attention. I like seeing what he's breeding on his Instagram pages. He's obviously taking it serious. And I was like, I don't know Jared at all. I should be better about like seeing other media, but I had this real challenge with like the comparison trap, and it doesn't do any good to go like comparing yourselves against other people. You got to do the best that you can and wish them the best to do the best that they can. But, I admit I have trouble with that. So sometimes I'm not as like engaged and supportive as I could be all around. So I was like, you know what? I gotta meet Jared and hang out with him and talk with him. So please welcome for the very first time to the Proper Royal stage from Gem Exotics, Jared. How you doing tonight, man?
Pretty good. How's it going?
It is good, man. Like I say, I am loopy from the drive yesterday, the long weekend. Tinley is nonstop. There's the show, and there's the show after the show before the show behind the show. It's exhausting, man, and in a great way. But I'm beat. But I am looking forward to like hanging out. Like I really enjoy this time of my week where I get to meet people and learn. So I'm not saying that to be like, oh, we're not going to do anything. No, we're gonna have a good show, man.
No, I get it. Being tired and running a show is just part of it.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
the excitement's still there. It always is.
It is. Yeah. And there's like Tinley is equal parts exhausting, but also recharge. You get to see everything going on around you. Like say it was busy. It seems like we all hear nothing but the industry's dead. Everybody's out. It's not true. Like we got to get out of our basements. Go check out the shows, man. Like the reality out there is very cool right now. I'm excited for it right now.
I think that a lot of people just aren't accepting the fact that this is where our market is heading and progressing, and you're going to have to adjust to what's happening, because a rebound in a lot of these projects isn't necessarily on the verge. It's going to be where we're rotating at the top of those projects with newer creations and adding new things in and hitting those new top end animals. I think that's where the rotations are going to be. And at the bottom, we're always going to be playing around with these mutations that are going to lower in value, that, you know, especially with shed testing making everything easier to identify, which is great. It's not a bad thing at all, but it just makes those mutations on the lower end have no chance of really coming up in value. You see what I'm saying? So adjusting to the future is important.
Well, and I think any industry, one of my favorite, and this is actually from a musician I heard one time. We were all hanging out. There was a band I was opening for, and there was another opener in front of us, and they were belly aching, much like ball python breeders belly ache. And the headliner, he looks over and he says, "If your business model isn't working, why wouldn't you change your business model?" And it was just like mic drop. But it's oversimplified, but it's exactly right. And I will give one counterpoint though. Like there's certain things that are just still undefeated. Now they're not going to be $1,000 or $5,000, But I'll tell you, man, banana clowns are still like undefeated, man. I still sold more
Yeah,
of
for
those at
sure.
Tinley than anything else. So I do think now, to your point, what the bottom of the value is, I don't know. Um, I kind of like that a lot of breeders think that they're too good to breed banana clowns. Great, because I will. And they're still amazing looking animals. And even at Tinley, there's people going, A, that's really cool and way cooler than I thought it was because of whatever reason. Or people just starting out who look at it and go, that is unreal and it's attainable. It's at a price point. But I mean,
Yeah,
even still, I was north of 300 on all of them this weekend. So sure, it's not, again, it's all what your expectations are and what your business model is. But for me, moving a handful of those, that's the table fee. Then I can mess with
for sure.
codom, double recessive het this, you've never heard of this. I can aim for those. And I do like working that stuff. I got my own drawers of that too, but I do like I like the action. I like the activity. And I hope that those people do grow and turn into the second, the latter descriptor I just gave,
For sure. And we're seeing a shift too in the sense of the animals that are becoming those pet grade and in that lower value tier. There's also a shift in people that are working towards producing beautiful animals that are reinventive in the sense of taking old combinations and putting new genetics in, which we've seen, but now people are really going and branching out, and I think testing waters that when the animals were worth $10,000, we would go, "You're crazy to do that with something that's that valuable," and you would expect the outcome to be, subpar and not sell well, so nobody messed with those directions, and it's fun to see a lot of those avenues open up now and more people playing with snow projects and exanthic banana stuff. And
right?
those visual foundations are going to become like the new pet grade foundation because it's stuff that we haven't seen too much of. And to your point as well with the banana clowns and stuff like that, I think like there's always going to be the ivory breeders, the people who always produce 100 ivories a year so that they could just sell those at shows. But there's always those mutations that sell well that aren't overproduced. Like the
Mhm.
banana clowns aren't overproduced, in my opinion.
Well, and that's what the neat thing is. And you talked about like old genes that maybe people are reworking or they wouldn't mess with, or that they'd moved on because maybe they listened to a market or they listened to somebody say that they're not cool anymore or they're chasing this or that. Like I still think the grandma test is just the most powerful thing out there, man. If it looks cool, we'll find the price. Now it might be, you know what I mean? It might take a little bit to find the agreeable price, but to me, that's the root of it. There's always going to be this like core handful, and I don't know how many of us there are. There are people that are always going to speak the language of knowing what the hets are, what the upcoming, cool gene in
Yeah.
that little circle is. But outside of that, is just a monster opportunity is one thing I think. The other thing though that you brought up though, I really like every new gene means that every gene that got tired can be revitalized. So like I was
Yeah.
going to ask you like what's a specific one that kind of gets you going these days that like what's a specific example of something that you're working that maybe had gotten forgotten in the past?
Oh, I'm working the adder mutation. So the
Okay,
adder
cool.
mutation has been around for 10 plus 15 years, around
Right.
probably 15 to 18 years. And just an underworked mutation. Early on, it got crossed into het red xanthic to prove it wasn't allelic because people thought they looked similar. And then after they proved that they weren't allelic, that mutation, the adder, pretty much got mixed in on the United States side to the banana, lesser, and het red xanthic stuff. Never really got worked into anything recessive except for clown, and that was overseas. And then Jim at Ectothermic Dungeon, he was doing some work with the Adder project, and he produced I think he hit the Adder tri-stripe that was debuted on the genetic canvas. He's working towards the Adder puzzle, which is a direction I invested into because I think that the Adder project can really bubble out and create a very interesting kind of thorned look to the black negative spacing coming down into the pattern where it's more bubble and oval and uniform, I guess. But we'll see. We haven't seen it yet, but it's going to be an interesting one. But that's kind of one of those old mutations that has tons of legwork to revamp a lot of these newer projects and even combos that have been established.
Well, and like I say, I think I don't know why, but once people like shove something in a closet or put it away, they just like you mentioned Het Red Xanthic. I think that's a phenomenal gene. I think it's a dumb name gene, but I think otherwise it's phenomenally. I think it's a phenomenal gene. I have a lot of that. I one of my things that gets the most attention these days is just I say just, it's actually a little bit complicated, but it's a super banana gargoyle, so cinnamon, Het Red Xanthic, and a super banana. It's the most electric green, neon purple snake I've ever seen. And it
Oh, it's
improved
got a
that,
lot of the green hues.
yeah, incredibly. And people are like, well, what is that? Is this something new? I'm like, actually, this is one of the oldest like named combos that they're, nicknamed combos out there. And people just stopped working it or were chasing something so new. And there's just so much opportunity with those out there. Same with Het Red Xanthic. If you guys are looking for, look what Portuguese Pythons is doing with Het Red Xanthic in Ultramel and Ultramel Clown projects. It's unreal, man. Like for that to be quote forgotten or this old afterthought is ridiculous. Like I would
Yeah,
go buy it right now. Like go buy
I
a
just
bunch of it
picked up
right now.
a Het Red Xanthic, Leopard, Spot Nose, Desert Ghost, Het Xanthic G Stripe, or Cryptic. Het Xanthic G Stripe Cryptic. Yeah, something. I have to look at her card, but she's incredible. I got her from Sculpted Exotics, Clayton over
Oh,
there.
cool. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
man.
but Het Red Xanthic is amazing.
I think so. I mean, for me, I mean, then this goes a little bit to what I was talking about earlier. Like these comparison traps we all find ourselves in. Oh, what are you working on? Oh, that's not cool enough. Like, go produce the baddest ass thing that you possibly can with what you got. It'll sell. Like, be passionate about it. Be passionate the way you're talking about Adder. You'll find the market because it's going to be cool. You will have put in the work, and there's so much opportunity with all the different genes. Like for somebody to be like, "Oh, that's useless." That's a horrible conclusion, man.
Yeah, and the best way to look at older mutations that have kind of lost the demand and value is as an envelope or a portal, so to say. When you reach that combination that you're set on hitting, throwing a pastel onto it or throwing a Bell complex gene onto it, it just kind of takes it up to a whole nother dimension. And you may not want to keep it, but if you've already gotten yourself there with your animals and you just throw it in to see what happens, you're not really going to hurt anything. And I really think that there's a lot still to be done with every older mutation.
The mathematics of it is something I bring up often, but I mean the mathematics of, let's just say there's 200 identified genes. There's more than that, but let's just say there's 200. The mathematics of potential combinations is literally mind numbing. Like Google can't even quite understand 200 factorial. If you guys want to get really nerdy, you can go Google 200 factorial and see what Google spits out at you. That's in
So
theory the actual number of combinations that are out there, far more than all the people
I
that have
didn't
ever lived on this planet ever.
I didn't complete the list yet, but I'm compiling a actual completed list without any double names, like
Mm-hmm.
double renames or anything like that. And currently, for known mutations, I'm getting 137, and that's
Okay.
without any renames or anything like that. And obviously, I don't feel like that's complete, But even at 137, when I run it through, the possibilities, just for
Right.
triples, I mean, I did it up to 10 gene combinations,
Okay.
and it's in the billions at that point.
That's
But
what I mean.
I
Yeah,
mean,
it's
it's in the triple
massive.
billions at that point. But
Right.
yeah, it's endless. But just in triple combinations, I remember vividly or vaguely, it was 333,000, like 894 different mutations just in triple combos that we
Hmm.
could produce with 137 mutations.
Yeah.
So there's a lot on the table.
It's a massive amount. And like that, I hope nobody feels overwhelmed by that. That should be inspiring to say, screw anything.
Yeah.
Like there's only
We're just
12 notes.
scratching eights, we're just scratching at eights.
Right. Yeah, put it this way. There's only 12 notes in Western music, and we haven't exhausted it in what we're in our seventh decade of rock and roll, much less Western music, man. Like 12 notes, guys. That's everything is a combination of 12 notes. Now you can bend stuff
And
and put effects and all that, but we have way more opportunities in ball pythons.
at the same time, I also want to note that 137 is base mutations. I wasn't also including the supers, because if you include
Mm,
the super versions, now you are getting a whole nother, that does need to be counted because it gives you a different, because when you have a clown, it's a homozygous. So if I'm counting a
correct.
clown as a homozygous, the het form doesn't really change much, so we're not including that. But I am including a pastel, which is a het form. So I have to include the super pastel separately, which I haven't done on that list. So there is definitely a lot more
Right,
because you got
right.
to think of all the super mutations that aren't on the list that should be on there that I just didn't get. Just great conversation makes you think of good ideas. So,
Well,
good points.
but that's a compelling argument you made too, where if d- not to just repeat and regurgitate what you just said, but the clown and the clown reference with a super pastel, you're right. Those are different genes. And even the gray areas still fit perfectly into what you just described. Whether somebody wants to say gravel is dominant or recessive, we usually treat it as dominant, but I think you could argue it's recessive just because of how
Yeah,
different the super form is.
I have a true argument that every single mutation in ball pythons is a recessive mutation because there isn't one that has proven itself to be a true dominant mutation across the board at all. There's been proven to be super pinstripes, there's been proven to be super calicos, super sugars, um, super leopards, any pretty much form of mutation that at one time was believed to be a true dominant has been proven over time that there's a super form just through the context of breeding and like the form of the pinstripe. There was a male that only produced pinstripes from three different pairings or three different seasons of multiple pairings. So that proves that just through the breeding process, because yeah, you could get lucky on a clutch or two, but to have three go all pinstripes, multiple, double digit clutches, that proves a super. And then KG at Bomb Projects is the one with like the super calico or sugar that he's proven out
Mm.
through breeding. So I do have a strong theory that all mutations are recessive, and even with dominant mutations that have lethal supers, they have a super form, it's just not viable.
Which is not viable. Yeah. I will admit I have a rule because I get a little impatient. It's just 0, 1, or 2 copies. All the other
Yeah.
stuff is human constructs, right? So I'm not saying it to diminish what you've said. I am
Yeah.
saying it
That's
because
how mutations in the recessive complex work. Because in a
right,
dominant form, there is no one or two.
correct. That's correct. So, but what I hate to see, and I felt this when 5, 6 years ago, they would rather correct me to hear themselves like tell me what words I was using wrong. And I finally was like, you know what?
Yeah,
Screw all of
whatever.
it because it's 0, 1, or 2. And actually the person that taught me that was Dr. Hannah Seidel. That was one of the very first people doing shed testing before anybody brought it to market. And I remember having her on the show and she rolled her eyes. She's like, I don't know what any of those mean. And I'm a genetics like I'm a geneticist, I'm a doctor of genetics. And she's like, Adam, this is 1-0 or 0-1 or 2. I was like, I've seen the light, man. Hallelujah. So I'm like, let people call it what they want. But the results that you're speaking of are important. If it produces all of something, then yes, I would agree that we should call that a super. I would agree with that 100%.
Yeah. Now, I mean, crossing into a different species, like you get that in the green tree pythons where you get red dominant animals where they will always produce a red clutch of neonates, even if they're paired with a yellow neonate, opposite sex,
Mm.
animal.
And I
So,
will say, though, I fully acknowledge in other species it
now I don't
gets.
know how that works exactly, but red dominance in those green tree pythons is amazing.
And like I say, I will acknowledge my own ignorance on other species, but for the ball pythons, for dummies like me, this made it real easy when, like I say, when I heard Dr. Seidel say that, I was like, hallelujah, I got this now. So,
Yeah.
um, so you talked about Adder. What are some of your goals with Adder? I know you talked a little bit about it, but talk a little bit more. What have you accomplished that you feel like, not necessarily like flexing or like you deserve some trophy or something, but what made you happy just to open the tub and be like, man, look at that thing right there.
So, I mean, so far right now, last season I produced the Cypress Motley G-stripe clown, and that animal is amazing. Now, that was
Yeah.
the runt of the litter, and a lot of people actually thought that that baby wasn't even alive when I took the initial photos of it because of
Mm-hmm.
how small it was, but he is still alive and kicking. He is
Oh,
still
cool.
very small, but he's honestly my favorite production just because he's wild looking. Premature babies or runts tend to have a little bit wilder of a pattern than a fully developed or, a full-sized neonate sometimes. So who knows if his pattern is influenced by that a little bit or not, but it's still a really wild pattern.
Huh. Did you have to do any assist feeding or special measures or just downsize the food?
Yeah, I
Yeah,
did
yeah.
have to assist feed him for, I think it was like 8 months about
Wow, wow.
because
Yeah,
he'd tongue flick when you would hold him, but he would just kind of shy away with anything in front of him in the tub. So,
yeah.
but once, I just kind of knock one out and put a little pinky and then
Yep.
just kind of put it in his mouth. And I didn't do nothing more than that. He went to town. He was a trooper. He just didn't have, I think, like the strength to wrap and curl.
Right. I think people, at least I did. I'll say I'll own my misunderstanding. I think people don't realize that there's like assist feeding. You just put it in the mouth, and then there's like,
Force.
yeah,
Yeah,
the force. And I think too many people go straight to the force when that's really rarely needed, in my opinion. I mean, I don't know, hundreds of hatchlings last year,
for
and
sure.
there were three that needed to be assisted, and they were the ones like you're describing. They were the runts, like they needed help eating, and even still, it was just getting it into their mouth and having it appropriately sized where they could
Yeah.
handle it. You
And
know.
sometimes you put something into this little baby's mouth and they may be defensive or something. And I'll tell you the best thing, and maybe you do the same thing, but the best thing that I found to do, and it was recommended to me by someone who actually assist fed green tree python neonates
Mm,
because I was more into the designer green tree pythons at the time. I was assist feeding with friends. I was actually helping the late Clyde Claus, excuse me, Clyde Claus, who was he was a very well-known green tree python breeder.
mm,
So I used to go over to his house in St. Petersburg, and I used to go and help him assist feed a lot of those neonate green tree pythons. And yeah, it was amazing. It was some of the best memories hanging out with
mm.
Clyde. And he actually had Odd Job, which was like the little alien green tree python neonate, and wildest neonate that has ever popped out. I mean, we've had really dark black ones. We've seen the really crazy cherry bomb red ones, the yellow ones. But this one here, it was like you couldn't tell, was it red? Was it yellow? It was fluorescent orange with like a bleeding yellow. And you've seen like
Oh, cool.
there's like the ones where it's like a yellow phase neonate and it gets like the red burnt stripe down its back. And that's kind of like the unusualness that you get out of green tree python neonates, except for like different shades of red going to black and kind of purple and stuff. But that animal, it looked like a true little alien hatching out of an egg.
Nice. What was the trick or the thing that he showed you when it came to assist
Oh
feeding?
yeah, yeah, yeah. Thank you for keeping me on track.
That's okay.
So yeah, once I get the head of the food item into the mouth, and typically I use fresh kill just because it's
Mhm.
still warm, it's still fresh scented, and yeah, that gets them going the best. Typically, that's what they want. But typically, I'll get it into their mouth, and then I'll just kind of back it over and just cup them real gently with my hand over them to where they may have about this much space just to move around, and not enough to where they can really open that mouth and just kind
Oh,
of
neat.
wiggle that
Interesting.
prey item out. And once they settle, because that's their initial instinct is to wiggle back, keep their mouth wide open, and just kind of try to toss it.
Right.
And if they can't do that, they'll try to coil it and they'll try to pop it out from that way with their,
Hmm.
from their neck. But if you kind of just hunker them down like they're in a little hut, they don't have enough room to do any of that. And then they settle. And then typically after 30 seconds to a minute, they'll settle, and then I'll just kind of let them sit on top of the rack and eat, and I'll walk away. And
Yeah.
then once that's pretty much in, I'll just go pop them back in the tub.
Right. No, good insight on that because you're right. Once they chill, they just kind of sit there and it seems like they look around and then they're like, well, screw it. I guess I better eat this thing now. And
I
it
feel
just
like
takes them a second to get there.
And I feel force feeding comes from impatience most of the time. If your snake hasn't gone like 3 months without eating, 2 to 3 months, depending on the condition and health of the animal, obviously, um, typically it's still okay. And you just have to have a little bit of patience, try different things, reach out to more breeders, and
Right.
in the end, if that's what you got to do, downsize the force feeding item. Typically you just do a pinky head when you're force feeding, cut it off. A lot of times with the green tree pythons, the trick is you pop the head off of the pinky, a frozen pinky, and then you put it on the end of a shish kebab skewer, and then you basically tap that thing on the body of the green tree python neonate until it strikes it, and it gets stuck in their mouth at that point.
Yeah. Yeah.
Pops right off the end of the skewer.
I agree with you on the patience part. And I even to the point, if an animal is eating on its own, I don't I don't force or assist feed anymore after that. I look towards overall health and then husbandry conditions and care conditions. But I don't have those issues with adults. And I'm not saying they don't exist. I'm not saying they never exist, but it's generally something else that's causing it. Or it's a male and he doesn't want to eat. They're fine.
Yeah.
They'll
Now, do
your
you
own
try to feed your
expectations.
males through
I always
breeding season?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I always offer. I keep a real close eye on the
How
ones that
successful would you say you are percentage wise?
it depends when in the season. Most of them stop. Most of them stop. They do. Um,
Later, right? Later on, they stop.
yeah, that's really more where the percentage question would come. The I would say I don't know. The other problem is that some like my breeding, I'll go actually I just got my first eggs this season today.
Nice.
And but they'll
Congrats.
yeah, it was really cool. Thank you. Just today, but they'll lay all the way through the end of December. So I've got, literally 9.5 months of laying, so still another solid 6+ months of pairing, and just it's they'll go off and come back on and that kind of thing. But I try and rotate them out, and I just keep an eye on body condition. Like my maturest males, I don't worry if they eat or they don't eat. If he's 1,800, 2,000 grams, he's fine.
Yeah.
If it's
He's gonna
a
power through.
right, yeah. If it's a started at 6, 7, 800 gram boy, and you know, because the fighting ones we want to get working, and so we want to do it healthy, and you want to have them like I say at least 600 grams. But if they stop eating, it's a much quicker pound. And if I visually see them start to lose weight or look lethargic or physically they're acting different, I I I just pull them. I just stop them. I'll swap them out. I'll do a backup, whether it's a backup male or just a total backup project where I just swap the breeder on it. Um, I've lost males and I don't like it, man. Especially as I get like nicer and nicer and more investments. And not that every animal is important. I'm not saying that, but I have the knowledge and the experience, and now even more investment on top of it. It's like, you know what? It'll be there next year. It'll go. But if they're like I say, if they're staying above 1,000, 1,200 grams, I'll breed them. They'll be fine. If they get under that, I start watching pretty closely.
Yeah,
Um,
because at that point, 20% of body weight is only tens of grams.
yeah, that's the thing. It's yeah, and again, like we're most excited either about the holdbacks. We've been holding them back for at least a year, probably longer,
Yeah,
and we want to get them to work. And then boom, they stop eating, and then boom, they fall off, and you don't want to lose that. It's not worth it. So,
yeah.
uh, but to your point, and getting back to kind of the patience thing of it, it's people's expectations. They rightly expect an animal to eat regularly, so it takes a little while to get your head around they might not eat regularly, or people have the expectation that it's been a week, it hasn't eaten, let me do something, let me shove something down its throat, and it's like that's not good either. So it's experience plays into it, and I agree with you, they should talk to other breeders as well.
Yeah, and feeding is always a controversial topic, and it's going to
It's
be
true.
forever. It always will be because we all have our own things that we feel work best, and we're always going to debate on those things, you know?
Yep. Yep.
So listen to everybody's way of doing things and find what works best for you, but take it all in and take advice from everything that makes sense to you, and that's the best way of approaching most things in this industry,
I
besides
think
the
so.
genetics, because genetics are just down packed as far as, this can produce this and this
Right.
percentage and
At least that's defined. Yeah, at least we have a simple
yeah.
definition on that. We know that. Yeah, I would say, like, if anything, I always say ball pythons have taught me patience, and I think it trickles down to just slow down. Like, you don't really have to. Most you don't people don't have to breed as often as they think that they have to breed. They're like, well, I pair it every week, and I'm like, holy cow, you're good, man. Like,
When
slow
did
it
you
down.
start?
Yeah, right.
I
Like,
started in November.
yeah, like you don't have to do it
It's like,
weekly,
was she
so
ready? It's like, I don't have an ultrasound. It's like, I can see why, like some people just might be pairing because they don't want to miss an early opportunity and stuff. But if you're trying to do it the right way, um, you got to learn the signs, and learn
right.
the
Yeah,
timing because every girl is going to have different timing for sure.
that's right. Yeah, and let me be clear. I'm not knocking anybody. I've been the guy that thought I needed to pair once. Like, okay, I pair and then I rest and then I feed and then 2 days later I go. You don't have to do that. I've been that dude. I get it. And you're right. What you said about the signs, you don't have to have an ultrasound. You can start to read the signs. You can know the seasons. You can see the behavior on that stuff. So I have to be careful when I get on my little rants. My rants come from my own experience, not from me trying to dump on other people. So, um, how about this? Let's talk about some of your history. Your brand, Gem Exotics, is relatively new. Is that correct? How did we land here?
Yep, yep. So, initially, during my investment phase, I invested as Selective Creations.
Hmm.
which is now going to be, it's becoming the umbrella company is what it is. And that's kind of what the plan was from the beginning with it. That's why the name is pretty vague, wide open. It allows me to, subsidize under it basically and open up companies that fit and are more focused because Gem Exotics is focused for the reptiles, and then I also have some other business ideas in mind that'll just end up being umbrellaed under that as the holding company, and it just kind of makes it easier for my business management side of things. But I was excited about Selective Creations initially,
I'm sorry.
and
Can I interrupt? You're the first person I've heard bring this up. So you're not talking just an umbrella for like other reptiles. You're talking an umbrella from a financial tax impact corporate structure of a business. What led you to that conclusion? That sounds pretty insightful. There's got to be something there. Or did you back into it? Did you say, man, I want to start something else or I want to focus something else? Let's make that the holding company.
no, well, that's why Selective Creations, it's so fitting because I can choose to create whatever, and I'm very selective with what I want to do. I'm very inventive. I have a lot of ideas of things that I just go, if I could have a patent put on that, I could make a lot of money, and I have a lot of ideas in the pipeline to get things done. So I'm
Okay.
gonna try to, it was kind of always a plan, but it was, I want to say, it was sped up for sure. It was sped up initially when I came across. It was only like a month after I had started like the Instagram and stuff. I had came across another breeder's profile that had been established before me, had a similar looking icon, and I reached out. I said, "Hey, this icon looks kind of similar. I just started. If there's an issue, let me know." And it wasn't an issue supposedly. So we went on, and then I learned that he just didn't like it. So it just kind of pushed me to get it off of the reptile side of things out of respect and to
Mm-hmm.
push more towards my vision a little sooner. And that happened before I took the show onto my own channel and all of that. So, um, I appreciate those pushes, I appreciate people that give me motivation. All it does is make me go harder and farther, and it makes me do bigger, better things, and it just kind of makes me reach my goals and hit them sooner. So keep pushing me, keep hating, and keep showing me some love too. I mean, that's what drives everybody. And I don't mean
Well,
hating. I don't mean that.
no, I get what you're saying, but there is something to that because comfortability we mistake for like achievement. Like, oh, we're comfortable, so we're done. We did the thing. So much more gets done when we're uncomfortable. So and then couple that with like literally nothing can improve without change. By definition, improvement is change. So there has to be change involved. And so if it's uncomfortable change, it can be like a force multiplying factor. Now it can kick our butts too and stomp on us. But
It'll
I think
kick
it's a
your
great,
ass every time. It'll kick your butt every time. But
yeah, we could throw out ass. That's all right.
the one
We're good.
thing that I can tell you is everything can be turned into a growth opportunity.
That's right. Always,
Every
always.
single thing.
Well, and I talked about this with Chris, I don't know, a week or two ago. Like, we get caught up in like, oh, this is tough or this is a hurdle. Like, getting your leg chopped off, that's tough and a hurdle. Like, something looks like something else. All right, fine. I'm going to fit like it. It's funny because it's almost like the other person thinks they accomplished something, but they're the ones that stayed the same while you evolved and you went and accomplished something new. Like like
Yeah.
you're onto something there. Interesting
Hey,
side note.
I
We can
look
even
at I
go
look
ahead.
just on that point. Sorry, just on that
Yeah,
point. I look
you
at
please.
a lot of people. that can do things that are just incredible to me, that have like disabilities and things like that. And even for someone who has all of my abilities, I go, I could never even do that. I couldn't even fathom how the people can paint murals with their feet and things like that. Like, that's a whole nother ability, and time had to slow down for you to learn those things.
Right.
And honestly, like, when you live in a world of repetitive, like, uniformity, time starts to fucking, sorry, time starts to fly by. It starts to disappear. It
Yeah.
really becomes a ghost, and you work day in, day out, you do your things day in and day out. And the only way to honestly gain that time back is to change your routine. Get out, change your routine, do something that's going to slow you down and make you make you appreciate more of what's
Hmm.
around you in the moments. And
I will. I will
more
tell you
people
on
need
that
to
note.
slow down.
Yeah, I will tell you on that note. I think you mentioned St. Petersburg. I take it Florida.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I lived in Jacksonville, Florida, and I lived in Gainesville. Actually, I lived in Tampa Bay area. I went to Hillsborough High School too, as a matter of fact. So people think I'm nuts for moving to Minnesota, and I tell them one of the things I love is how distinct and in some ways harsh the different seasons are, exactly because of what you're talking about. In Florida, it is a blur to me. There are pictures that I
Yeah.
don't know if it's 4th of July family get together or if it's Christmas get
I
together.
mean, you lose track. I mean, I
Yeah,
can't remember which Christmas was two or last year or three or last year, It's like
right. But I could
people
tell
ask
you,
me,
yeah, I could tell you how many winters I've been through here. I could tell you what springs were good for particular. I like wild mushroom hunting, so I could tell you when the
yeah,
morels were good and what year and that kind of thing, or the summer that we did this, because
like,
there's these stark divisions. You know?
yeah. And I finally like broke my pattern when I went to the Matt Rife concert this past weekend, because I just have been in a grind mode constantly, and I haven't really gotten out to do anything. And I broke the pattern going out to that concert, and then the next day, it's like I hadn't been to a reptile show or anything in a while. So I went to like a local show because I didn't make Tinley, obviously.
Yeah.
And
Which
and then
was the
after
local?
that,
Which was the local one?
that was a Bradenton Repticon.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Yeah, so just Repticon.
Yep.
And then after that, I went to the local fair. And just being out of the house for like 18 hours, in this
Yeah.
short span of time, it just kind of felt like it was a reset. It really felt like it kind of reset me.
Good for you, man. You
Just
you do have
different,
to do that stuff. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think
You
that it's
gotta just.
important.
I do think that. I would
And
agree
if you
with you.
don't
And
know how
and
to do it, I'm telling you, just plan 2 days in a row to just go out and stay away.
right. Yeah, I'm leaving on Saturday, and somebody was like, "Did you?" I'm going on a cruise. They were like, "Did you get the internet plan?" And I was like, "No, I did not. I got the drink plan and no internet plan. As a
Hell
matter of
yeah.
fact, that's what I
That's how
did."
you do it.
So, but that's the funny part. The hard part is finding someone you trust. And we all say it's hard to find somebody we trust. What it's really hard to do is make yourself be willing to trust somebody else. There's plenty of good people around. I handed the keys to somebody. I said, I'll pay you. They came, checked it all out. I said, you got it. They said, I got it. Like, what's the alternative? Like worry and have more years of no vacation. So I gotta give myself a shot on it. So, okay.
When
So
you come
what,
back, it's gonna be like, oh, it's gonna be a little hard to go, like, kick yourself in the butt and get going again. You're just gonna be like, I just want to keep relaxing.
I will probably be the guy that's like, no, I got to work
No,
24
you'll have
hours
to come
straight
back
to get
like
this.
me, and you'll be like
Yeah,
pulling your hair out, like, oh,
I will.
what's all out of order? What do I got
Even
to get in place?
even today, after being gone for Tinley, was that way for me. That's part of why I'm so exhausted. Is I didn't sleep because I just wanted to get back to the shop and get stuff back in order. But so what's kind of the what was the brand vision or the outline or the definition that made you say, all right, it's time for Gem Exotics? What is Gem Exotics that Selective Creations is not?
So Gem Exotics, it ties a lot together. Selective Creations, like I said, it was initially meant to be this company I can branch out underneath, and I didn't expect it to become that as soon as it did, but it became it at the right time because um, my son actually wants to take it over. At least he says that now. He's not even 10 years old yet. So we'll see if that ever changes or if it stays the same. But he was like, Dad, since you have Gem Exotics, can I own Selective Creations for my breeding company? And I was like, yeah, it can be yours one
Ride the
day.
wave. That's right. No, do it
But
for him.
that's
Do
going to
give him all you
encompass all
can.
of the
Yeah.
companies I start too. So that makes sense anyway. But um yeah, so Gem Exotics, being that my name is Jared, I grew up with the whole comparison to like the Subway guy, like, oh, Jared, like the Subway
Oh,
guy.
geez.
And
Yeah.
then
Okay.
and then after that guy got arrested and all that, it was
Yeah,
like a
that didn't
big,
go well.
oh, don't compare him to that. Don't say Jared like that.
Right.
And then it was a few years. I don't remember how long it was, but living up north, Jared the Galleria of Jewelry had come around.
Right.
And that was a huge jewelry store, and it was always like he went to Jared, and that was always
That's
a
right.
thing. And
Yeah.
so that was always something that I related to and tied it like my name to was the jewelry store. And then with the snakes. So I've truthfully been studying the genetics of ball pythons since I was like like consistently since I was 9 years
Okay.
old. And I mean, I was probably interested in them from the age of like 7 to where I was catching snakes out in the fields and stuff with my dad. Earliest was 5, and before that, I was catching frogs and salamanders. Like, I
Right.
remember, I remember one of my earliest memories was like I was probably just out of diapers, digging around in a pond, a little puddle outside of my uncle's cabin out in the woods, and I was catching these frogs, and I had a bucket full of these bullfrogs, and man, it was like
Yeah.
6 of them, and I was
Yeah.
digging for some more. My hands were down all in the mud, just feeling them slip out and just trying to catch them, and all I heard because my dad hadn't been in town for a while at that time. He was out of town working, and all I heard was, "Hey, boy!" And I look up with my hands deep in the mud, and I was like, "Dad!"
Yeah.
Just full of mud. But that was just kind of like because he had been gone so long, and because
Right.
I was doing something I loved, like one of my earliest memories, and I was just a little kid, but. Then it became snakes at the age of 5 when he caught a red belly ringneck snake, which was a northern smaller species. It's just like a little ringneck snake down south here, but up there they were real black with a reddish orange belly more so, and like a
Mm.
orangish ring on the neck. So we call them red belly ringnecks up there. And after
And
that,
sorry, where's up there?
that was in New York
New
and
York. Gotcha. Okay.
Pennsylvania.
So yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
That was specifically Pennsylvania, but um, yeah, that little black face with the little black tongue and the little black eyes and that red belly and the little collar, it just looked like a really sophisticated little cute little snake. So I just fell in love with them, and I went out trying to catch as many as I can from there on. I was like, I always wanted to find the ringneck snakes, and I would always find the Decay's Eastern brown snakes and the garter
Right.
snakes and
Right.
things like that. And never came across any kind of like timber rattlers or the rarer species like northern copperheads or nothing like that. Those are
Hmm.
too rare. But it evolved to, finding what neighbors I had with snakes, and then finding a bunch of people I hung out with boas and then ball pythons, and I started studying them consistently. Like, there was my obsession. But I've truthfully I've truthfully studied mutations in ball pythons since the beginning of the industry. So
Hmm.
I've had a privilege, due to that obsession, to see a lot.
Hmm.
And when people were competitive and not watching each other, I was watching them all. So I was seeing things on a large scale when they were only focused on their stuff. And this happened for, almost 30 years now.
Hmm.
And a lot of that work was put into practice when I was young. My first clutch was I started breeding when I was 11 years old, and I had my first clutch when I was 12.
Oh,
And
cool.
then, yeah, that hatched out. And that was just normals. But back in the day, a female normal was literally $1 per gram. If you had a 2,000
Mm.
gram normal female, she was worth $2,000. So
Hmm.
me producing a clutch of normal babies was $60 to $80 each if they were females. At least
Yeah.
that's how people would actually scale it back then. If you had a female, a normal, she was worth $1 a gram. And that's
Hmm.
just how they did it. It was crazy. Even the pet shops would be like, oh, she's a bigger female, she's worth more. But those would even be imports, a lot more imports in the pet shops.
Oh yeah, that stuff.
Um,
Yeah. 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 I
yeah.
remember I was in Gainesville in 1998, and I can remember. It's funny because I still see some of those same guys at like the shows, and I'm like,
You remember Ben Siegel reptiles?
I don't think so, but was that in Gainesville?
That was a Southern Florida breeder that
Oh,
he
gotcha.
he
Okay.
he's been around a long time. He hadn't been around a long time now, but he was someone that always had a lot of those earlier mutations and like the boa constrictors and stuff. But yeah, the
Yeah.
first time I ever went to Florida, I went to the Ben Siegel reptiles, and I was just calling out mutate. He had nothing labeled on his tanks, and I was just like, "Is that a Mojave? Is that a fan? Is that And he was like, "You're like, why? How do you know all this stuff?" And I'm like, I came to see these.
Right. No,
Like, I know
see,
what I came to see.
I was just the guy that just wanted a pet ball python in college, like a pet snake in college would be cool. What should I get? Oh, get a ball python. So I had two ball pythons in college. But what's funny is I remember in 1998 seeing a piebald, and first it blowing my mind because just like people now that see him that have never seen him, they're like, where'd it go? What's the color? What's it
Yeah.
doing? And they're like, you're like, no, 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 that's it. That's the thing. But I also remember, and I can't remember the number, but I remember thinking to myself, you could buy that snake or you could buy a Mercedes if you have that money. Like it was the same price. I remember, and I don't remember if it was 40,000 or 60,000
Yeah.
or 80,000, whatever it was. But I remember thinking to myself, like, you get that snake or a Mercedes. But what's funny is I remember I didn't know anything about morphs and gene. I just wanted two ball pythons. That's all. And I don't say the person's name because I actually don't think very highly of them. Bless you. These days, after some
Thank you.
recent interactions with them, but it's the same guy that I see at the show, like around the Repticons in Florida,
Oh,
and
okay.
I'm like, oh my gosh! And it's funny how like how much some things change, and then how much it's still all the same people. You
Yeah.
know what I mean?
Yeah, and
Yeah,
that's sad in that sense. Like, I knowing a lot of what I know of what happened back in the day and over all the years, and I feel like, there's a lot of people that are still around that did a lot of things that we think would have gotten them out,
yeah, yeah,
without
and
saying anything about who they are or anything like
yeah,
that. But
or
like,
what? Yeah, exactly.
just
But I
yeah,
could tell you, like, it's funny because of like we think of these like big like macro things that they may or may not have done, or rumor mills have that they have or haven't done. But then also there's like the first time I was ever vending at the Tampa Repticon, and it was like the bully crowd. Oh, you think you can do this? And I'm like, find data you too, pal. Like, and I like you were talking about earlier how like stuff like that motivates you. And I just remember being like, look, you bonehead, if you can do this, I got a fighting chance at least. I'm gonna give it a go. And so like I just it's not worth going down the that this is I can't stand complaining. So this is all just me complaining. But like it's funny that it's just funny that that same shop that I remember seeing that piebald at, damn if that guy wasn't there 20x years later. You know what I mean? It's just
Yeah,
crazy that that stuff happens sometimes.
I'm sure I can think of exactly who you're talking about, but I'll have to confirm later.
You could narrow it down to five, I bet, and one of them would be right. But
But
that's neither here nor there.
yeah, so that all ties in though with how like the gem thing came about as far as the knowledge base. I have a very good identifiability as far as my eye for the mutations and combos. I was privileged to see all these mutations stacked together in a lot of single combos and single forms and stacked up throughout the years to where I saw the mixtures of, this double combo with every other morph and then this double combo with every other morph because there was only a handful, and then when a new one came in, it would get mixed in the crowd pretty quickly. You'd see those new mutations. And there was, market crashes back in the day would happen when there was a lull in animals being produced and possibilities of what could be produced. And there was kind of a lack of sight for the future of the market. So people would stop investing. It's kind of less what you see nowadays for the market lulls. It's less the economy and things like that. Back then, it was more so you kind of hit a wall and you kind of ran out
Mm-hmm.
of stuff to make. And that's what hit the market and affected it. And then those mutations would come down in value because people were just producing and producing and then nobody was buying them because just like now, you see a lot of these triple visual and quad visual projects and everybody's bought the triple hets that they're trying to raise up and they're if they see a triple het that has a couple incomplete dominance, they may be buying that to add to their project, but it's far and few between for what people are adding for those directions, and that's another shift that our market has taken. A lot of people invested into those directions already, so now they're looking for the animals that'll bring some zest and some
Right.
life into the visual stuff.
I talked to a guy at Tinley this weekend, and it in one way it was a little bit of an aha moment, and in another way it was like, look how we've shot ourselves in the and the conversation very specifically was this person lamenting a little bit, well, this isn't, I have these amazing things, these amazing ingredients. And I said, man, with all these triples, we've created these like super niches, however we want to say it, that
Yeah.
if it doesn't fit exactly that, so like just hypothetically, uh, you know, uh, uh, let's say an axanthic hypopod, and I'm going, I got these amazing things here. These are one ingredients, and I'm not holding them back because I have what I need. And this other person goes, yeah, but I'm only working a clown pied axanthic. That doesn't fit my need. And it's like, they're not wrong. I'm not saying that.
Yeah.
I'm saying we made it so stinking specialized that nobody else wants it. And now you got to build this thing, or, you just
And
pass them
that's
off
where we're
wholesale as
seeing
nothing,
that's where
Yeah.
yeah, sorry to cut you in.
No, you're exactly right. Keep
But
going.
that's where we're seeing the dropout in the market in those areas, in those values of those triple hets. And I actually, the note that I was writing down earlier was that exactly is the shift in the market. Because if you looked back a couple of years, even after the COVID, whole thing, because you look at back and it's like 7, 8 years now, like it's 7 years since the start of that whole thing happened. So six, if you
Like
look
six,
at a year through, so
yeah. Well, like six
if you're
years
talking
today,
just
I remember the bottom fell out. I remember the
yeah,
Patty's gig
so
that year got canceled. Yeah.
but if you're looking back even just 4 years, the triple het market was super strong. I mean, you were looking
Mm-hmm.
at now it's very focused, like to find
Right.
these triple hets that are still holding a high value. Back then, like triple het DG Clown Pied, those things were like 10 grand and 15 grand and things like that. And now people have made enough, people are sitting on enough. The shed testing has made it easy enough for people to go make it themselves with animals that they didn't have to spend thousands of dollars on. So now the bottom fell out for all those triple hets because the market got flooded with them over the past 3 years. And now, yeah, you're right. If you don't have something that benefits somebody's, progression in that specific niche, you aren't going to sell. You're going to be producing wholesale animals.
Yeah. Right. Which goes back to my like, I just want to produce amazing looking animals. Now, sometimes that requires
Exactly.
hets. Yes, that's exactly right.
And that's where
But
the shift I think is going, is everybody
I
wants to
think
just
so too.
make pretty stuff, and they're going to have their triple and quad little projects, and they're going to be very focused with those. But I think everybody's going to go back to, like, you hear Mark Mandick and a lot of bigger breeders saying, I'm super focusing in on double visual project directions this season, maybe a little triple twist here and there, but doubles and stacked combos and seeing new things that we haven't put together yet is the direction. And we're going to see so many cool things over the next I'd say 2 to 3 years, that are going to be visual combos that it's going to re-spark our industry in a sense.
I think so. And I think we're always just one cool new combo away from a whole lot of excitement, a whole lot of opportunity. And again, there's from what I just saw in Tinley, man, you can't convince me that there's not an exciting
Yeah,
thirst
you're starting to
for,
see it.
yeah, there'll be another wave of hobbyists that turn into real enthusiasts, that are pet owners that turn into hobbyists, enthusiasts that turn into people that go, holy cow, I want to dive headlong into this. That's around too, So I think the opportunity's there. Before I go too far with you, Jared, I got to pay a couple bills really quick because we got to take care of people keeping on the lights. And then I do want to talk with you about we talked about old genes earlier. Let's talk about some. We say new. They, in theory, they might have been there all along, or maybe they're new mutations, but new things that we've identified. Let's talk about that afterwards. So, guys, check out Redline Shipping if you would. Boom. I just like the focus thing on there too. Look, if you value customer service, if you value somebody that you could call, if you don't feel 100% comfortable in changing weather conditions, changing shipping conditions, and you just want somebody that can help you out, Redline is your company. There's a phone number on their website that you can call. You can get in touch with reptile keepers that work for Redline that are going to help you through it. They have the equipment, they have the goods that are going to the shipping goods to get your animals safely where they are going. There's been many times that Redline has gotten FedEx to find the animal at Memphis, whether it be an ice storm, a windstorm, a heat wave, whatever it might be. So that's personally why I prefer Redline Shipping. Use the promo code PROPER5, get yourself $5 off of your next shipping label. I know this is confusing. We got shedtesting.com logo up here and Phenome logo down there. I'll get it all worked out, but the company is now Phenome. They're just up at Tinley, had a really cool setup, and I've gotten to spend a lot of time with them, and I've worked with Charlie for many years, but Phenome is now the company. You can check out phenome.com. They just unveiled a sex test, both for ball pythons, but also for blue-tongued skinks. You can now know your skink's sex. I don't know enough about skinks to know if that was complicated before or not, but I assume it was, since they put in the research and development on that. So go check that out. You can see all the genes that you can test for at phenome.com. Sundog Serpents, speaking of Florida, they're good friends from down in Orlando area. That is Sarah and Josh. Look, hot off the presses with them. They've got zebras and zebra combos. They work TSK Axanthic, so zebra Axanthic ingredients as well. They also have a clutch of Stranger Hypo Clown combos available, TSK clowns, and a couple different Ultramel Pod projects as well. So check out Sarah and Josh. I've vended with them. I do breeding projects with them. They bought snakes from me. I bought snakes from them in the past. They're people that I highly trust. And they're just they're gold to work with. So please go check them out. Reagan Renee Royal Pythons. That is Charlie Ryan, and he is in Cherry Hill, New Jersey. If you go to ReaganRenee.com, you don't have to type Royal Pythons at the end, just ReaganRenee.com. All of his inventory is there. And if you buy from ReaganRenee.com, he takes care of shipping. All of it is shipping included on all of his prices. And on that website, if you use the promo code Proper10, you'll get 10% more off of his animals just for hanging out on the show tonight. You get to do that. So he's got these cool, much like Jared's talking about, with cool ideas and innovations that he puts into use. Charlie has programmed a twist on genetic calculators. So some financial calculators when it comes to breeding, and as well as shed testing. Now you're going to have to enter in your own values. He's not going to tell you the values to enter, but you can enter in your own values. And then his analytics are going to give you a spread of potential results and likelihood and analytics from it. All free, all a value add just for going to ReaganRenee.com. So please check that out. Keeper Kane is the YouTube channel of Kane and Michelle Fritz Wallace. They're down in Tennessee, and the Keeper Kane channel is kind of the documentation of their experience with their animals and the creatures that they have at their house. So definitely ball python breeders that are very active in the community, big snake keepers, arachnids, the tarantulas they've got, as well as aquatics. The content is always family friendly, always safe for the kids to check out and to get excited and build new enthusiasm through their channel. So go check that out. That's here on YouTube. That's Keeper Kane. Last but not least is BNS Reptilia. Chris is my vending partner at Tinley in October. We have some investment animals together, and Chris has been a really great supporter of Proper Royals. He's the original advertiser on Proper Royals Live, so I'm very, very thankful. He's Reptilia because, yes, he breeds ball pythons, but also blood pythons, locality boas, colubrids of all shapes and sizes, even the Pituophis, bull snakes, pine snakes. He's got those. He's got the information on the legalities of owning them wherever you're at, whatever certificates, that sort of thing that you'll need. He can help you with that if you would like to get into any Pituophis animals. So thank you guys. Thanks for tuning in. Thank you, audience. Please, if you're considering supporting anybody in the industry, please give these guys a look. And last but not least, we're coming at you ad-free, no interruptions, never any interruptions on Proper Royals live content. And that is from the good friends at Palm Street. It's a live selling platform. If live selling is your thing, go check it out. They do have auctions. They have traditional selling. They have a traditional store you could populate. All the above, and all that information is right down below in the description. We're hanging out tonight with Jared from Gem Exotics, and it's been cool. I've enjoyed the conversation, man. There's a lot to learn and just to chat about, and that we've. What I really love is only having like loose topics so that it's the freedom to go anywhere the conversation goes. So I've enjoyed it. Jared, what quote new genes, whether they're newly discovered or truly new mutations, what new genes have you going? What gets you going these days?
So I actually was going through my list of new stuff that I'm working, or newer stuff, or
Cool.
older stuff, things like that. So I was gonna run through that, but I sidetrack a lot sometimes when I'm on these things, and I just wanted to pull it in real quick before I go on to that and just say that, like, breaking down like the knowledge and kind of like the experience and just like the time frame was just kind of, it was adding up to me going into the fact of like, it ties into like appraising these things. So like the jeweler, genetic jeweler, and Gem Exotics, and all of that. But then GEM also is an acronym, so it's based for Genetic Expression Mastery, because I think all of us are working on trying to master this stuff, and I think that mastery is a vague word to where we all are working towards that. We're never going to master this kind of stuff. So Genetic Expression Mastery Exotics is the acronym. Gem Exotics. I'm Jared, the genetic jeweler. Jared the jeweler and all that. And then just how I can appraise these mutations. If anybody has clutches that they want to, break down with me on the genetic canvas, you could reach out. We could do stuff like that as well. So I'm actually starting up a new pre-recorded series that we're going to do that's based around that. So But
Thank you,
yeah,
man. I didn't mean to sell you short on the explanation and the
no,
story
I
there too.
just
Thank you,
talk
man.
too much and get sidetracked.
But
But
that's the
some of
beauty
these
of the long
mutations,
format. Yeah,
um,
that's the beauty of the long format conversations, though. Go ahead, man.
so one that I'm excited about came in from Europe from Mike at 21st Century over there, and that was the smoother mutation. And
Smoother. Okay.
yeah, I don't think a lot of people have seen nor heard of it yet. And I know the only other person right now that has it in the US that got it at the same time as me was Levance at Straight Fire. So
Hmm.
it's a super interesting mutation, and it does exactly what it says. It smooths everything out, and we're just gonna have to see what it does in a lot of these combos, because I have it in a pastel fire smoother, and everybody knows a pastel fire, a firefly. It's very bright, very kind of very kind of ruffled edges, kind of
Hmm.
fuzzy blushing, things like that, and a lot of graininess inside of the alien heads, especially from like the fire complex and stuff like that. So the smoother takes all that away, and it keeps all the color, but it really bubbles up the pattern and just kind of wipes everything out to where it's like a very, very colorful DG almost. And
Oh, cool.
the super form, if there is one, will be incredible. So it is a proven mutation. I don't know if there was a super proven yet though. So
I
that is
gotcha.
one. And another new one that was an import is called the Nero mutation. And the Nero mutation, um, it was purchased from Dave Palumbo. He was the only one working it. And we just got it into the NR Mandarin and Fire or Vanilla with the hypo stuff. So super, super wild, like chaining donuts down the
Mm.
dorsal. If you
Oh,
could
nice.
think
Okay.
like how
Oh,
the
on top.
like blackhead ringer gene has a lot of those ringer donuts down the dorsal.
Hmm.
Imagine that, but they're all more so chained together. And um, it's a very interesting mutation on the dorsal, but then also in the sides, it creates a lot of distortion and wackiness and kind of throws the pattern up and down. So that's interesting to keep an eye out from the camp and what we're going to be producing there. The other person that's working that mutation right now is Brandon at Righteous Reptiles and Rodents.
Mm.
And then I'm getting into the Bambino. I just got
Okay.
my Bambino, so
Oh, you
super
purchased
excited
one,
to
huh?
work that. Yeah,
Okay.
so super excited to get that and work that. What we're going to be doing there is, I think a lot of people are looking to stretch it, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to manipulate it into more structured pattern to where we can contain all of that busyness inside of some borders and manipulate those borders more so. So I kind of have my plans of how to get that look accomplished, and hopefully we're going to surprise you with some amazing Bambino stuff in a totally different direction than what everybody else is kind of messing
Okay.
around with already.
Yeah.
Less so with incomplete, less so with recessives, more so with incomplete dominance. But on the recessive side, I will say that zebra will be one of the main components in that Bambino
In the
project for me.
Bambino. Yeah.
Yeah.
Very nice. Um, Let me just like, uh, and sometimes people dance around this or are uncomfortable with it, but yeah, and I don't think it's any secret. That's not an inexpensive animal, and I suspect bringing some from Europe is also not inexpensive. How do you see that play out? How do you see where the value is? How do you make the calculate? I mean, somewhere you have to make a calculation. I think I'm assuming that you have to make a calculation. Hey, yes, I'm excited about it. Yes, I think this is amazing, and also like this is down payment on a house kind of stuff, money.
Yeah.
So
So
it's worth close consideration. It's not my business where the money comes from, but when you make those considerations, what kind of thoughts do you give?
yeah, so obviously when you're investing a lot of money into a mutation that has an incomplete dominant factor to it, you have to make sure that you're investing into a market that, for one, isn't just wide open. It has, breeders involved that want to work their directions and get ahead before really hitting the market heavy with it. So that way, you at least have a few years behind your belt to get established in your own projects, in your own direction before the market takes its hits and things like that. So that's important to me, but also comparisons, on the mutation itself. Is it worth the money? Is it is it something that is similar to another mutation or another simple combo that you can make very, more affordably? Things like that. Does it give you a completely new realm of combos to make outside of what's, comparable? Things like
Mm-hmm.
that. So there was three players at the top, and I was granite mutations are not one of those mutations that I ever thought that I would want to invest big into.
And
I
I
come
apologize.
from
Which gene are you referring to right now? Bambino?
Bambino, just
Yeah.
in
Okay.
general, though,
Sure.
granite, like any granite mutation, though, like I come from the time period where granite mutations, common granite was like, ooh, look at this granite mutation. Oh, we can super it. Oh, this one can't be supered. Oh, we're breeding these out. And then they kind of lost value. And that was like in the early 2000s, we were messing around with granite. You had the Inferno stuff with the hidden gene wom of pastel granite fire stuff from Nerd, and and then after that, granite kind of just got lost, and there was no value to it. And when you got it into combinations and stuff, it was just kind of looked at like one of those polygenic traits, kind of lost to the
Mm-hmm.
industry. And
Right.
then you get these really strong ones that come out, and those ones are very impactful. And they caught my eye, and I think they caught everybody's eye. And
Right.
even before that, we had the Voodoo, we had the J2 granite, which became the Pixel.
Mm-hmm.
We had these other stronger granite lines, but nothing that was extreme to that sense. So everybody started looking at it. You had the Cosmos and you had the Bambino. I didn't know which one I would want to get into. I mean, that was a big toss up, I think, for a lot of people that were interested at the time. And it wasn't until, I mean, it was a little bit before the whole thing with the Cosmos came out that I had already made up my mind, because there was just something about the Bambino that it was consistent. It was consistent enough to where I saw its dominance over other mutations in a lot of combos, whereas
Mm-hmm.
when I saw a lot of these Cosmos combinations, I saw a lot of variability, and this was before the information came out. I saw a lot of variability, and I saw a lot of dominance from other mutations going into that one. So just on that alone, I was leaning more towards the Bambino, because if I'm going for the strongest expression, granted, I want the most dominant of the strongest expressions.
Okay.
So, and then when the information came out that the Cosmos had to have the Hitchhiker to be the strongest expression, it was like, all right, that kind of makes sense why everything was able to affect it as much as it did in those combos and stuff. So at that point, I was like, all right, I'm sold. And now I want to say, though, that there's still two really big players in the Granite game, which is the Malice,
Mm-hmm.
the Bambino and the Malice, because the Malice also shows its consistency across combos and mutations from what I've
Mm-hmm.
seen.
Yeah.
So are they the same? Are they different? Who knows? We don't know that yet. I don't know if we will know that for a while, but they seem to act a little different, and I like what they both do. But
Mm.
I didn't actually talk to Ash about any if he was releasing any of that. So
Yeah, I saw him Sunday, actually Sunday morning, right before the show opened. We hung out for a minute. It was cool to see him. He was working the show though.
yeah, so he's a great guy, man. Always
Yeah.
good to have him on the shows, and the panel shows were always fun to hang out. I miss those too. But yeah, shout out to him and the work he's put in on that mutation, because that was an import female and he had to prove it all out, and definitely shows consistency there. But
My
on
apologies
the
on my
topic,
camera here. My connection. I don't know
it's past
why.
your time. That's why
I know it's like, you know what, Adam? Yeah, we got to go. No,
it's
that's
trying
not.
to kick
That
you
is
off.
not. That is not the case. It's
But
my
on the
HDMI. But I'm still here. Go ahead, man.
okay, but no. On the topic of the like investment, also like it has to be promising enough in that aspect and different enough from other mutations. And if there is a comparable mutation, like you could say the Malice is semi-comparable. It looks like it has its differences and combos and stuff, but if it has a comparable mutation that's also expecting a high value, then you're in a project that's likely going to do good. And
Mm.
with the time that I've, been around, even when the project starts to drop in value, that initial investment's going to come back around, because now people are going to come to you and see you as one of those original people who started with that mutation that they can trust to spend the money with.
Well, I think the thought that you put into it is whether people agree with it or disagree with it. I think the action of active thinking rather than buying hype or creating hype. I think the specifics that you gave indicate, like, sometimes just the thought process is the important part of it. The whether it's got to be right for you. You can never tell, or I can't ever tell somebody, hey, this is or isn't worth 10 or 20 grand or whatever it is. But I can
Mhm.
say, here's why it's worth that to me, versus just the impulse. Got to have it. I'm going to miss out. This so and so says it's hot, because there is a difference to those things. And if you're convicted in why you're investing in it, you're probably going to have a higher chance of seeing it through, even through disappointing initial returns. Like we talked a lot about that before. Like, the opportunity on a gene is always going to be there. It's just how long does it take to see it through or
Yeah.
to see the right situation or scenario on it. So I think that the thought process behind it is great, and I think there's a lot to that, and I think people should listen to that.
I think your expectation of your timing in the return of investment is a huge factor too, because
Yes,
if you
yeah,
look at my investment and you go, that guy ain't gonna get his 18, 20, $25,000 back, you're wrong, because even if somebody was to buy an animal for 20,000 now, it does obviously have a lot to do with their actual plan and their knowledge and how they're going to breed the animal and attack the genetics and things like that. But if you're taking an animal that's $20,000, so to say, and you're working in a project with other breeders who are wanting to protect that value at least until they can move forward, and they're not trying to just sell everything and cut under each other to get the next sale, then the demand stays up. And then every time you produce something new and you actually show it to the market, that demand increases, because now they're seeing what that mutation can do in these projects. And the Bambino is one that's impressing everybody, at least, and maybe not everybody, but a majority of people. And even if it's not, it's impressing me enough to where I want to do what I can see a future with, you know?
yeah,
And if you invest into a project thinking that you're just going to make more of those to sell to make your money
right.
back, it's completely the wrong freaking
That's where the
approach.
that's
You
the
know,
backwards. Yep, exactly.
I'm
That's where the hearts
buying
get
and I'm
broken.
looking at, I want to breed this animal the things that I want to see, and then creating something that I can't believe compared to what I thought it would be, that's just going to blow everybody else away too. That's what Justin does. That's what all these other big breeders do. They put projects together that they have a foresight of, and then when they produce it, it usually blows them away themselves. And when they
Right.
post it, their excitement transpires across the camera, and it's like, wow, I can't believe this. And if they hatched exactly what they thought, they would go, damn, that's awesome. That's exactly what I thought. They wouldn't be as blown away.
Right, that's true. No, that element of, yeah, that's the icing on top. That's the reward that's the sweat equity paying off. That's the
Yeah.
blessings in it kind of deal.
But
Um,
at the same time, sorry,
yeah,
closing that thought, at the same time, when you are always reaching for these animals that you want to see, your byproduct, especially in those top tier projects, are what people still want to buy. And those animals are going to replace those values that are coming down. So when the Bambino comes down to 10 grand, what's going to be at 20 grand? The Bambino double het with another couple codoms, And
right.
if you're always producing to progress a project, that stuff's going to end up as your byproduct in the years that that's going to be available at that price. So take your chances on new projects if you see a future with it and you have the investment to make, but make it smart.
Yeah. And I always say this too, everybody's resources are different, everybody's circumstances are different. As crazy as it sounds, 20 grand to one person can be like $20 to another. I mean, I'm a musician. Jim Irsay just auctioned off, he's dead, but his estate just auctioned off his guitar collection. It was $93
Oh,
million
yeah.
he raised for his guitar collection. So like,
Crazy.
yeah. And that's all, so work with what you got, do the best with what you got, but don't feel like, I don't ever want somebody to feel like they have to spend something to be quote relevant or important or blah blah blah. Go buy a Jolt or go buy an Adder and do something that hasn't been done with it yet and show the people why they were fools for selling it to you for $70 instead of 7,000 or $70,000. That opportunity is out there too. So Jared, where can people follow you and catch up with you and get in touch with you and all that kind of stuff?
The best place is going to be on Instagram under Gem Exotics, and then the best place to subscribe and follow me is on YouTube as well under Gem Exotics, and that's under the Genetic Canvas, where we host the show every week. Sometimes it is an archived episode because we have some of those from when we transferred to my own channel from a network.
Right.
And just had to save some of those to repost when that network got deleted. But so we do have some archived episodes, but other than that, every other episode is live. We are also implementing the new series, which is the Breeder Blueprint, where we do a detailed, focused genetic dive into how collections got started up and how they progressed to where they are today, what they're breeding, what they're producing, and what they have for sale. So it's
Nice
kind of
work,
a
man.
genetic deep dive.
When is the genetic canvas live? What day? What time slot and day?
So that's Sundays at 8:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.
Very cool, man. Jared, thanks for being here. I enjoyed talking with you. I enjoyed going deep on a lot of these things, and I look forward to seeing what you do in the future. And I hope we stay in touch, man. I like to not only like follow you, see what happens, see where things go, but I think I could use a resource like you too. So I hope to stay in touch with you, man.
For sure. Yeah, definitely, man. Anytime. I
Perfect. Thank
appreciate
you
you
very
having
much.
me.
My pleasure. I've enjoyed it tonight. It's been like I say, it's been a cool episode. Audience, same time, same place next week. I got next week, I've got Shane Kelly from Small Town Exotics. And, every Tuesday, 8 p.m. Eastern time, Tuesdays are relentless, man. There's always another one right around the corner. So I will see you all soon. Jared, stick around for just a second. Everybody else, next week. Have a good St. Patty's Day. Be careful, you leprechauns. See ya.